Thank you for joining. My name is Myles Gilsenan. I'm a director in the Oracle Analytics practice of Perficient. I've been working with Oracle Analytics technologies for about the past 15 years. Today we're going to talk about an OAC speed to value success story. We're going to first talk about the background for this particular client. We'll talk through the Perficient approach, the delivery of the solution, what we delivered and how, and what benefits were realized. So first, our client is a top waste management services provider in North America. They have services ranging from waste and recycling to renewable energy generation. Now, this particular client purchased OAC as their analytics platform with great enthusiasm and a lot of ideas. And some of their key goals were as follows. They wanted to consolidate data from Taleo and PeopleSoft. They wanted to empower the HR users with self-service reporting. They wanted to provide greater visibility into critical HR metrics. Some of those metrics were things like cost of vacant positions and the time to fill vacant positions, quality of hires and turnover, employee career progression, weekly activity reports, and talent optimization. Now, this client had an overarching goal. All of those metrics, what they really wanted to do was to track employees from the recruiting channel all the way through to career progression at the company. And over time, they wanted to build up a data set to be able to say that people that come through these channels turn out to be successful employees at our company. And then, of course, they would emphasize those channels. So a great idea and something that a lot of companies are trying to do. So some of the key issues that they encountered with regard to the disparate data sources related to connectivity. So one of the systems was on-prem, one was in the cloud, and that can have some interesting connectivity issues, especially when your analytics solution is in the cloud itself. The data relationships were a little bit tricky. Remember, we were bringing in data from the recruiting platform, and we were having to join it with data in PeopleSoft that really talked about career progression. And when you're in the recruiting channel, you're not an employee, you don't have an employee ID, which is really, the main way that most organizations identify employees. So you don't have that when you're a recruit. So there's some challenges in relating the data together. And there are also some complex transformations like cost of a vacant position. To really put that cost together, you have to look at a number of different cost aspects. And the transformations were a little bit complex as well. Some of the mapping that we had to do. So we were able to bring that expertise and help them. But on their own, this was an internal project at the time. They were starting to run into some issues. Now, these issues were technical in nature. And those sometimes are a little bit easier to deal with because they're tangible, they're obvious. We're just going to get a technical person and they're going to solve it. What I want to talk about next are some of the other issues that the internal project ran into that were not technical in nature, and those can be a lot more difficult to solve. So one of the things that this project ran into, and keep in mind, at this time it was an internal project. So they had purchased OAC, a lot of excitement, kind of have this sense that OAC is an agile, cloud-based environment, and you should be able to get value fairly quickly. So there were a lot of expectations, very high expectations, and people were expecting to see things. And when I say see, I mean literally see, like literally see a dashboard very, very quickly. But there were some organizational things that were causing issues. So despite having purchased OAC, they did not clear the runway for the team. So we had one person, she was our subject matter expert. She really understood the data. She was she was across Taleo and PeopleSoft. She was critical for us. But she had a full-time day job, and she was so valuable. She had so much information that she was being pulled into about 5 other projects because she was in corporate HR and other divisions were wanting her time as well. So it was very, very hard to get her time. So despite her enthusiasm for the project, she wasn't really allowed to focus. And then there were a couple of other team members, including a couple of technical players, who were having the same issue. So they were all having these competing priority issues. And one thing that can be said, and it's true across the board, There's no technology platform on the planet that solves organizational issues. The platform itself really can't solve those issues. And they can be a lot harder because people have to get in the room and they have to think through priorities. So what was happening here was that executive management was kind of saying, hey, how's that OAC project going? When can I see the dashboards? When can I see the dashboards? And the internal project team didn't have anything to show. So what happened was the executive management started to say, well, you know what? I guess OAC is just too complicated. I guess our team can't really understand it. But the fact of the matter was, it was not an OAC issue. They were just not getting the time to really sit down and crystallize scope, come up with the use cases. When it comes to integrating data sources, there was some technical expertise that was needed, but by and large, it was the idea that they couldn't focus and they weren't able to adequately define scope. So a classic organizational issue that you've probably experienced in your career, I've certainly seen many, many times. And I always kind of remind people, this is not the issue of the platform. This is a people and an organizational issue. And it can be hard to solve, but at the same time, it can also be easy to solve. And one of the great ways that you can do it is to get some outside help. And that's exactly what they did in this particular situation. They said, you know what, we need to get some outside leadership here, people that have done this, and they've done it successfully in short time frames. And that's when they brought in Perficient. So what we did is we came in and brought our quick start services methodology framework, which is geared to get value quickly from Oracle Analytics Cloud. It's a cloud-based platform. You can do things quickly if you're focused and you have the right scope definition. So we came in and did a number of things that were intended to rebuild the momentum. So the first thing we did was to reestablish confidence in the purchase of OAC. So we went through some real world client success stories. We talked about what other customers are doing, the benefits that they've received from Oracle Analytics Cloud. And that got the team kind of back on their footing, like, yes, we made the right decision. We're on the right track. Now, once we established that confidence, we went into defining scope in such a way that the high value functionality will be delivered first. And that was the functionality that they thought their executive management would be most responsive to, that they thought they would be able to roll out to other areas of the organization, and that they also felt would be most impactful. So those were the use cases that we really focused on. Then we needed to agree to success criteria, because oftentimes people have different definitions of metrics, different definitions of the way those metrics should be calculated, what the cutoff should be, what the roll-up should be, and how people should access those metrics, and how frequently people should access those metrics. So we really need to get a very clear set of expectations and definitions for what success would be. And once we had that clarity, then we were able to really mission focus, develop a plan, and begin to get into the execution phase, which is what we did next. So at this point, we rebuilt momentum. We got going on the project. We built the plan so that we could get concentrated time from important team members at important points in the project, like up front during requirements and during validation, and also when we're looking at the core data. But we didn't need full-time participation, and some of those team members were able to do some of the other important initiatives that they were being asked to do. We delivered an OAC solution in 4 weeks, and hopefully you agree that that is a speed to value, particularly when you're integrating data. So let's talk about how we did it, and then we'll talk about what we delivered. So what were some of the critical success factors? How do you come in and deliver a solution, an HR analytics solution, in 4 weeks? So first, we brought our quick start services methodology. So we have a methodology geared towards doing things quickly and leveraging Oracle Analytics Cloud. So it is a structured approach, not in the waterfall sense of you're going to do requirements and then look at those for 2 weeks and then do design. It's very agile, structured but agile, and it relies on rapid prototyping and multiple iterations. So we get in there, understand what's going on, and begin to put dashboards up, have people respond to those dashboards, and talk about it right online. So we get into the system very, very quickly. We also brought to bear HR subject matter expertise. And I would say this is very important if you want to do things quickly, because you don't need to have a lot of translation of terms. So we have people on our team that have been doing HR analytics for 15 years or longer in some cases. So they speak the language of the business. They speak the language of HR analytics. So when we talk about the metrics that are desired, we know what they're talking about. The next thing we did was to focus on data very early on. And that might seem kind of obvious. I mean, it is an analytics project, but sometimes people overlook really getting into the data and understanding the relationships of the data, and early on making sure that we are appropriately understanding how one data set is related to the other data set. Because remember, we need to relate these two data sets, the recruiting and channel data set to the career progression data set from PeopleSoft. The recruiting's coming from Taleo. So another thing we brought to the table was source system and integration expertise. So this is a huge factor. So we have already done a number of projects where we have integrated data from Taleo and PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft is an extremely popular HR platform, of course, and we've been doing HR analytics for many, many years. So we've run into PeopleSoft a lot. And same with Taleo. Taleo is very popular for recruiting. So we already really knew how to connect to those systems, how to extract the systems, and we were able to support the complex transformations and calculations just because, we've done it before. We do a lot of ETL work and we know how to do that. We also had very advanced OAC development experience. And I only say that due to the speed to value. OAC, frankly, is a very flexible and easy to learn platform. So it really doesn't take that much to learn it. But if you want to do things very quickly and you want to leverage the full power of the platform, all the bells and whistles, it does help to have someone who knows how to develop. We did leverage the semantic model capabilities of Oracle Analytics Cloud. So Oracle Analytics Cloud has self-service and governance, and the governance really happens through the semantic model. So we did develop a semantic model where we could have the metrics calculated and have security on top of those metrics so that not just anyone could change those metrics. So we were able to implement that fairly quickly, and we're able to accommodate some of the more difficult requirements. And also made it a little bit easier to do knowledge transfer. And lastly, very strong project management. So you might say, well, it only took you 4 weeks. Why did you need project management? The way we should think about it is it only took 4 weeks because we had strong project management. So that is daily stand-ups, milestones well-defined, weekly status reports in addition to the daily stand-ups, and really keeping the focus on and being extremely vigilant about scope creep, and also pushing people to be decisive. In other words, to make some decisions. One of the great things about the cloud, Oracle Analytics in particular, there are some decisions that can be reversed. It's not a complete stake in the ground, and you're going to have to spend 3 months reversing that. So that's how we got in there and really got after it and developed a solution in 4 weeks that was very well received, extremely well received, actually. So we developed one dashboard and 6 reports that covered all the critical HR metrics. You can see some of them here on the upper left-hand side. So one of the key metrics was cost of vacant positions. What does a vacant position cost us? Another one of the key metrics was the quality of the hires, and that was getting to what I talked about. What is the quality based on the channel they come from? What's the quality of the hire? And over time, how does that trend look? So one of the quotes from the talent acquisition manager there, you can read, the talent acquisition dashboard developed in Oracle Analytics Cloud was delivered above and beyond my expectations. So we felt very good about this project, and it could only have been done in 4 weeks with a flexible platform like Oracle Analytics Cloud. In the on-prem world, obviously, there have been improvements in the on-prem world, but I just don't think we could have done it in 4 weeks in the on-prem world. One of the other things we did, which we were very happy about, and we think the client appreciated, was to set up an OAC competency center. And it was a decentralized, distributed competency center, if you like. It was a set of people that we worked with, and we talked about best practices around BI project management or business analysis, testing, development, prototyping, and training. Basically, everything you need to do to roll out a solution to an organization. We went through with them, we documented it, and gave them an operating model that they could use in successive fashion to roll out to other areas of the organization. And we also conducted training for the end users. And then lastly, as a result of this 4-week solution, there were some real major benefits that accrued to this company. First, and perhaps most importantly, was the reestablishing the idea that Oracle Analytics Cloud was the right platform for them. So they became very confident in the platform, and in fact, right then and there started to make plans to roll out OAC to the rest of the company. There were a number of other significant benefits. So first, we went from manually preparing HR reports and data into an automated, streamlined process that was common across all the report consumers. We replaced multiple applications with one application to satisfy enterprise-wide HR reporting. We gave the talent acquisition and HR teams self-service reporting capabilities, and we also gave them the subject areas where they could do ad hoc analysis, so they didn't have to bring all the data together. All they had to do was access the system and, drag and drop the columns and metrics that they would like to report against. We also implemented drill down capabilities on their organization hierarchy. And that's a critical requirement for almost every HR organization. The ability to drill up and down the organization hierarchy is critical. Oracle Analytics Cloud fully supports that, and that's what we implemented. We also, kind of going beyond the core requirements of this particular initiative, we did some training and some demonstration and showed them how to use the data preparation capabilities of Oracle Analytics Cloud. So while we went ahead and integrated Talea and PeopleSoft data, it's not uncommon for HR organizations in particular, where they might have some other data, some offline data, maybe it's in Excel, that they want to bring in and they want to blend with the corporate data. That's fairly common. So we showed them how to do that easily, to blend that offline data with the corporate data. We also showed them how to use the visualization capabilities. As I said, it's fairly straightforward. So that was a key part of giving them the confidence to be able to roll out and create their own reports and dashboards. We set up an OAC competency center. And lastly, although I didn't talk much about it, we did roll out the mobile capability using Oracle Day by Day. Now, Oracle Day by Day is a free application. You can download it from the App Store. All you need to do is set up your OAC instance, very simple. And what you see in OAC can be delivered to your mobile device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. So, and that was certainly something they appreciated. So that about wraps it up. I hope you got a sense of the value that can be delivered with Oracle Analytics Cloud in a very short time frame. Maybe I'll just do a quick recap of some of the critical success factors to enable that value to be delivered. First, have a methodology and follow that methodology. Structured approach always helps. Get into rapid prototyping and do multiple iterations. Another one that's critical is make sure that on your team you have the right subject matter expertise. That could be a blend of in-house resources as well as external resources. Get into the data. Don't leave that to the end. Get into the data. Look for anomalies in the data. Make sure you understand how the data is connected. Make sure you have the right level of integration expertise. If you don't have that in-house, it's always a good idea to go ahead and get it. And same thing with the OAC development expertise. It's always good to have somebody who's done it. And have some strong project management. That's one of the areas that people feel like in a short project, it's only, say 4 or 5 weeks. We don't really need project management. But as I said, the way to look at it is it's project management that enables a 4 to 5 weeks. So daily stands up and good, strong task lists and project plans. So thank you for joining today. It was my pleasure to present this to you.